Once again, it's that time of year where I talk about every piece of media I consumed. But honestly, that's just really fucking exhausting to not only make, but also I assume to watch. So this year I'm only going to be talking about my favorite things. And I'm not just sticking to films, television, and video games like I did last year. This year I will also be talking about music. Because honestly, this year I realized how watching many films made me miserable, so I stopped, and I basically replaced it with listening to a lot of music. And also, not only is this entirely spoiler-free, but it is also entirely unscripted. I'm a lot more loose this year. But anyway, let's just game. I'm a gamer. Some honorable mentions: Back 4 Blood, and then also Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Realistically, this should be #1 spot, but it just feels wrong because it is just a scummy port of a nearly decade-old game, and they justified us paying full price for it again because they added a really short level, which really acts more like a Mario Odyssey DLC. Yeah, anyway, talking about the actual rankings now. I still boot up my Xbox 360 every now and then to play Skate 3 because it's just it's one of my favorite games. Absolutely love that game to death. And so I need a next-gen Skate 3, and Riders Republic is essentially that. A lot of fun. It's just nice to hop on and just ride around the open world and just do some fucking sick tricks while listening to music or a podcast. Because you can just switch instantly. There's so many multiple ways you can do tricks. Yeah, not really much to say about it. The only thing I don't like about it is how it's been commercialized and like the Fortnite-ification of the game. This is like one of the only things I allowed myself to get excited for this year. Oh shit, the camera's about to die. Yeah, so I was saying, you think it's going to be like fairly easy because of the age rating and like the really gorgeous kid-friendly art style. And then you get to the first boss battle and really a big difficulty spike there. But I got over it, and then the rest of the game wasn't too hard until like the final boss. Yeah, really solid indie game. 100% worth the price. Very excited to see what this studio do next. And they were originally just an animation studio because like some of the combat just needs refining and, you know, like better optimization, because I played it on PS4. It was quite framey at some points. You know, it's short and sweet. It will take you like a week if you space it out, but one sitting if you're a pro gamer. You know what? Talking about it is actually making me want to go back and 100% it by finding all the collectibles. Because the world is nice. Support indie developers, okay guys? Okay, hello. Here we are in the film section. What are my honorable mentions for this? Firstly, Encanto, Moxie, The Snyder Cut, Judas and the Black Messiah, and also Old. This took me by surprise. I had heard that it was a one-shot thing, and I was worried that it was just going to be used as a gimmick, like that film Victoria. Like this film, it actually makes sense for it to be a one-shot because it reflects the stress of working in a restaurant environment. Like there was a main character, but I liked how it was mainly just vignettes of all these different workers in the restaurant and showing, you know, like little windows into their lives. I thought it was just really interesting, and all the performances were good. There's a good skeleton script. As much respect as I do have for the cinematographer Matthew Lewis, when it is a 90-minute one-shot, that kind of takes away any creativity within the cinematography. Absolutely just so surprised by how much fun I had with this film. I watched it with my little brother, just some genuinely funny jokes, and it's funny how this is like, of the stuff I've seen, this is the only good thing to come out of Disney+. Ben Schwartz is just so likable, and he clearly got on really well with the kid actor as well. Just a really nice kids film. Eddie Boy, Well, even though I was excited all those years ago, but yeah, I think I just didn't really get excited for it, because if this was bad, I would have backflipped out my window, I think. But thankfully, it wasn't. Or was it? I don't know. Because after like 20 minutes, all of Edgar Wright's like signature trademarks are just nowhere to be found, and it's like anyone could have directed it. Like, the only flair it has beyond those first like 30 minutes is because Chung-Hoon Chung is the cinematographer, and he's amazing. I did like it overall, but then the ending happened. Just fucking awful. I fully understand why people hate this film, because it does that, because the ending is so awful and messy that obviously most people are going to get that interpretation, but I don't think that was intentional, and I fucking hope it wasn't. But yeah, it was interesting. I feel like once I rewatch it, I most probably won't like this. The very existence of this film feels very disingenuous. I believe Celine Sciamma is just one of the best directors working today. It was just such a pleasure to see one of her films in the cinema for the first time. I just really fucking vibe with her style. Like, she just creates such a pleasant atmosphere, and you just can't help but just get into it. It's just so sweet. And this film particularly, there's so many cute moments in this. Oh, it's just absolutely wonderful. And I think this isn't my favorite of hers. I'd say it's my second favorite, but I think the writing here is more thoughtful. Yeah, it's just an absolute delight. I think the way she uses non-diegetic sound is really great, and the child actors weren't terrible. I feel like you get more out of this on a rewatch, because there's a lot more than what is just like on the surface. So I decided to not see it again out of protest. But I do have a strong feeling that I most probably won't like it as much as the first. Okay, so I ended up rewatching it after my cinema finally decided to show Licorice Pizza, and I still like this. Maybe that's because I got to see it with my little brother, who knew nothing about this film. Considering I went into this expecting generic, crappy piece of Marvel schlock, and came out with a huge grin on my face, just absolutely shocked that this film has good character writing and genuinely thrilling, entertaining action scenes. A podcast I listened to said this, and I just totally agree. It's a 5-star film, but the moment you start thinking about it, it's a 2-star film, because it makes no fucking sense at all. Like, there are so many plot holes. Absolutely took me by surprise. I didn't watch it straight away because I don't like musicals, but I love Andrew Garfield, and so after a while I gave in, and wow, like, a film hasn't made me feel this many emotions in a very long time, and I just forgot that films had the capacity to wow me like that. A really good, unconventional approach to a biopic, really well directed, you know, there are some great transitions and everything. The music is actually good, and Andrew Garfield, just wow, this is the performance of his life, and it just sucks that no one is willing to acknowledge that, and instead they just kept fucking asking, "Are you a new Spider-Man film?" But yeah, just a story that most people will relate to. Like, it's the right amount of cynicism, and it's the right amount of musical. Like, the tone of this film is just really well balanced, I guess. But yeah, definitely check it out if you're a cynical theatre kid who wants to backflip out their window instead of growing up. Okay, so TV. But before I get into the actual ranking, some honorable mentions. Invincible and The White Lotus. Some of my favorite comedians made this. It's only 10-minute episodes on YouTube. You can watch it all while taking a long poo, I reckon. It's just very funny. Some good production design. They do the whole aesthetic very well. I just love these guys and their sense of humor, and they are fantastic actors, and it's just fucking ridiculous that they don't get more professional, like, big time work, and they have to independently produce most of their stuff. This show I like, but damn is it overrated. And I watched the first one the day it came out, and oh, it was not a good episode. I only stuck with it because I'm just a sucker for animation, and the animation is, oh my god, it is amazing. And I think that has just tricked people into thinking it is better than it actually is. Like, once you get past the first 3 episodes, which by the way, I like the release model for this, 3 episodes a week, I think that's great. The writing does get better, but yeah, I'm excited for its second season. The characters, that's the strong point, I think, of this show. Really commendable, considering I don't like sci-fi shit, and I don't like medieval fantasy shit, and I've never even played League of Legends. Right, now I literally only finished the last episode of this today. Kinda needs to sink in a bit. And I was originally gonna put this higher, but the final episode, oh my god, was that disappointing. But the season as a whole, I liked it, and I think it was good. It didn't really feel like a final season, which I liked, because it didn't feel like tropey and all that. But in retrospect, it was kind of like they weren't really working towards anything. It kind of feels like the whole thing was rushed. But overall, I like the way the 3 main characters' arcs ended. I wish it was polished a bit more, but yeah, Issa Rae is fantastic. Murder mysteries, I wouldn't necessarily say they're not my thing, but I don't typically like them because they're all the same. And Mare of Easttown is no different, but I liked it, and it was great. Kate Winslet really fucking carried this TV show. It uses the murder mystery as a vehicle to be a character study, and Mare is a really interesting character. All my problems with this stem from the fact that it is a murder mystery. The ending just being like, ha, gotcha, you thought it was this guy who killed the guy, but it wasn't, and it's like, this isn't a big twist. Why are you acting like it's some big fucking twist? I know. I've been watching the show as well. Okay, just like Hug the Sun, there is maybe a bit of bias to this because it's made by some of my favorite comedians. So literally, I don't know what I would do without these group of comedians that I'm constantly rewatching and listening to. And it was amazing to see them come out with like an actual full-on narrative TV show this year. It's just a fucking great show. Really funny, deals with social issues in an entertaining way. Naomi Higgins, who I just adore to pieces so much. It's weird because she's really good at improv. Every now and then I could see her acting. That's like my only fault with it. Right, at the time of recording, only the first 10 episodes have come out, but unless the ending is fucking terrible, I don't think my position will really move. I'm really surprised at how much I've been liking this. It's just so cute, and the characters are just very, very likable. Choi Woo-sik and Kim Da-mi are just, oh, they're so great. My only issue with it is the costume design. There is a lot of cheese, but nowhere near as much as other K-dramas. But yeah, and I like the setup of it. Okay, it's finished now. I bumped it up to number 5, and I feel like the fact that I didn't watch the final episode until a week after it came out perfectly sums up how I feel about this show, because I really just didn't want this to end. I had not laughed this hard in a very long time when I watched this. I think season 2 was somehow even funnier than the first season because I felt like it leaned more into its title of I Think You Should Leave. The characters were just even crazier. Very short, it's very snappy. I don't know if I have a favorite sketch. I do love the Bob Odenkirk one, but the prank TV show one, I find myself quoting that a lot. Even though this is somehow the most problematic season, despite it starting in 2000, I still just absolutely loved it. Like, Alison Jones, once again, the unsung hero of Hollywood. She's so great at scouting good improv actors. But yeah, it's still just amazing that after 11 seasons and 21 years, it's still this entertaining. And Larry David just hasn't lost his skill as a writer at all. Like, it's like with setups and payoffs in each episode and across the season, just wow. When I started this year, I did not think I would come out of it with 3 new favorite all-time TV shows. An absolutely incredible show. It's kind of hard to talk about season 3 separately because I watched season 1 and 2 once season 3 started, and then I caught up to season 3 before it ended. Season 3, I think, is most probably the weakest, but that doesn't really mean anything because even if it was bad, which it isn't, bad for Succession is still leagues above every other piece of dramatized television. I think this is just some of the best written dialogue we've ever seen on screen. It just feels like real people talking and how jokes are said in real life. Also the dialogue, not just in the sense of like a comedic standpoint, just in the way it gets across exposition so smoothly, and how we figure out information just feels so natural. And it's just, there's no way anyone can give a bad performance when these characters are so interesting, because they are so layered. I am a bit worried about season 4, because the way this ends, it kind of seems like there's going to be a whole different dynamic. You should definitely hop on this train while it's still airing. This is one of the greats. This is the new Breaking Bad. Hey, what the fuck? This came out in 2020, you watched it in 2020, and you even placed it as your second favorite TV show of 2020 in your 2020 reviewed video. All of those things are true, but I did say in the intro that I was going to be more descriptive this year. I've never understood what people mean by a comfort show, and now I finally understand what they mean. I can't even count how many times I've rewatched this year. Just insane how it's still incredibly funny, and they have such a unique brand of comedy. Okay, what are we moving on to now? Music, I think I'm gonna order it in. Yeah, that sounds about right. This is the first part of the video that I am recording, because it's the part I care most about. I haven't cleaned my hair I haven't even brushed it in 2 days, which is not good. So to cheer me up, I'm gonna talk about my favorite EPs and LPs that were released in 2021. I'm not a music critic. I don't know how to talk about music, so there's gonna be a lot of, it just sounds good. But I've narrowed it down to 18. The rankings don't really mean much until you get to like the top 5, I'd say. I recorded this before I decided to do the honorable mentions thing, so I'm going to do them now. Starry Eye by Jane and the Boy and Off the Rails by Wallace. Realistically, this should be in the top 10, but I didn't listen to the full EP until like literally 10 minutes before recording this, and so I didn't talk about it because, you know, recency bias and it hadn't sunk in, all that shit. But yeah, that was over a month ago now. Every song on this EP I like. My most played is Can We Hang Out Another Time, and also that is most probably also my favorite. Wake Up I really like, just very hyper, just good for a run. Yeah, this is one of my favorite artists. Every run I go on always have a Lone Moon song playing, and I love their whole style. It's just, my favorite thing about the album as a whole is how when you listen to it, each song just goes into the next song really smoothly. Like, yeah, I just fucking love it. But my favorite song from the album is most probably Cupid. It's only soloed down because it is kind of been cursed as running songs. Another one of my favorite artists that I don't go a run without listening to one of their songs. However, this album, it only has one song that I listen to on runs, and that's what I like about this album, is that it shows a side to her that she hasn't really done before. Like, the sound is like, it's still clearly, it's clearly the same style, but it just feels different, and it's a lot more mature, I guess. Favorite song on the album is Falling in Love. Really relate to it, and there's a asexual interpretation from the song, which I read into, which she obviously didn't imply, because maybe she doesn't even know what that is. So maybe watch my video on it, I guess? This artist is, I think, one of the most relatable artists I listen to. This is such a stupid thing to say, but by the time that EP came around, it was just quite disappointing because I'd like listened to all the songs already. Like, there were only 2 new songs, which are great, I do really like, and then another song which was just a feature version of her song No Friends, and it was not good. She has a really distinctive style. It's a very playful, upbeat style, but the lyrics are so sad. I think No Friends is my most played, but I think I Want to Be Alone is most probably my favorite. This was most probably my most anticipated album of the year, but by the time it was released, all the excitement kind of fizzled out because he had been hyping it up for too long. And so, like, by the time the album came out 6 months later, I was just like, oh yeah, for some reason it just didn't really stick with me, even though thematically I do love the album, because once again, something I relate to. This album came out when I first started watching BoJack, and one of the big themes of BoJack Horseman is cutting people off that you love because you realize that they actually cause more pain for you, and that's like the main theme of the album. My favorite song is Common Ground, which is funny because initially I didn't like it. Arthur is my most played song from the album though. This is mainly only here for the song the EP is named after. Obviously I love because I use it as a credit song in my Promising Young Woman video. It shares ideologies I share in that video. Not only does it match up my like pop, punk, rock, when I grew up that was like one of the biggest genres, so of course I love that genre, but also I vibe with it because it shares the same political views as I do. Yeah, obviously I'm gonna fucking love this EP. I love this sort of harsh guitar. I don't know anything about music, but I love the sound of it, is what I'm gonna say. I like song more than I like the album itself, if that makes sense. Serotonin is my most played. It has been my favorite the whole year, but I started listening to, because You Stupid Bitch was kind of cursed as a running song for a while, I've started listening to that more. And this song in particular, if it was a male singing it, it would be deemed as very problematic. But that is the point of the album, and this song especially, is that she's expressing stuff. Like, you know when you're in a relationship with someone and you want to say things to them, but you can't, and also you don't want to say those things to them because they're mean. Yeah, just another relatable album that I really love the sound of. Like, I don't... This is one of my top artists as well, just like Huron John. Every day I listen to at least one song of theirs. I don't know how to describe it, but it feels very homely. He is a talented instrumentalist as well, but he also will whack a deodorant bottle and just slam his desk, and that's how he makes the music. My favorite song on the EP is Wake Up You're Daydreaming, but he released that as a single in August of 2020. The EP itself came out in August of 2021. I'd say Birthday is my second favorite. I guess I'll just use this as an excuse to talk about the Netflix special as a whole. But yeah, I fucking loved this. The only problem is it kind of just died out after a few months. But I still listen to 30. My favorite song is either that or All Eyes on Me, which was my most played. But I think it just got blown out of proportion because a mental illness is, I swear to God, it's like the cool thing now. People make it seem like he's some sort of multi-talented god. And like, yeah, the lighting is really commendable. There's some really good lighting in here. But in terms of everything else, other than, you know, the lyricism, this is like what pretty much every YouTuber can do in terms of the editing and the cinematography. People are just shocked when a celebrity can do anything other than the one little box they've been put in their whole career. This is the first collection of songs he's made which work well as just being music. Fully understand why someone wouldn't like it though. It does come off as a little bit disingenuous. It makes it seem like he's entirely alone, but he has a significant other. Maybe that was the point, that he feels so alone, but maybe if you feel that way, maybe break up already. The instrumentals, although she didn't produce them this album, they are really good. As I said, the lyricism isn't that great and her vocals aren't the best on some songs. I just really like it, and I think having so many producers actually does kind of give the album a nice feel. I'm not really sure what my favorite is. It was Fuck for the longest time, and that is my most played, but I think Guts is my favorite now. Here's an example of poor lyricism. I fucking love the song so much, but the lyric is, it's hard to feel when you feel nothing. I just feel it would work better by saying spill, because it still rhymes, it still flows nicely, and it makes more sense. There's only one song on it that I don't like. Limbo is one of my favorite artists ever. In June, she just shadow dropped like over 100 songs and was like, yeah, I'm done now. But yeah, so just extremely sad to see her go. Maybe she'll come back. This is my favorite EP because it was a more aggressive hyperpop. Used one of the songs, my favorite song and most played song, Daisies, in a video. All four of them are great. Hippocampus are most probably my favorite band. I don't know, they've had a nice progression from like fairly standard modern rock into electronic experimental, and I just fucking loved it. And look, maybe I'm being biased. Bad Dream Baby is my most played, but Deep Fake is most probably my favorite. So it has some great like current social commentary to it as well. It doesn't just sound fucking sick. But yeah, like the lyric, hot shot with the camera, is him on my sex tape, probably gonna win at Sundance, pointing out how our culture is so obsessed with sex and puts it on this pedestal. Very relatable. It's kind of about just growing up and not really wanting to, and just realizing how bullshit the world is and not wanting to be a part of that, which is, well, also a lot of what Pockets was about, but I think this kind of explores it better. Space Girl just does not fit on the EP thematically at all, and also it sounds different to most of the songs. And like, my favorite song is most probably Depression, and also my most played. I do wish it had a different name, you know, show don't tell. Okay, top 5, Men I Trust, one of my absolute favorite artists. This is most probably my favorite album from them. I don't like the name though. They just have such a distinctive and unique sound, and like, because I'm someone that doesn't really listen to music outside of the house, but this album, you can do that but also listen while outside without feeling like I'm missing out on the music experience, if that makes sense. It's nice and calming but also super fucking sick. My most played is Sugar. I'm not too sure if that's my favorite anymore. I think it might be Tree Among Shrubs. Right, this was an absolute surprise. Never even heard of this artist before. Late September, the song on it, Parking Lot, just popped up in my Discover Weekly, and I really fucking liked it. And so I checked out the rest of the album, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. It makes me so sad, but also so happy. Yeah, just some great sort of piano light acute. I can't say that. The songwriting just feels so raw, and like, it's something that most people would relate to. It's gonna sound so corny, but it's like a helpful album. Like, when you're going through like the things she went through, but she's pointing out things that you yet haven't realized. Like, she expresses it in a really eloquent way, or at least to me. You might listen to it and be like, yeah, fucking obviously dipshit. And then I went to check out some of her other songs to find out she had come out with a full EP, including Newton's Third. And I was really annoyed that Spotify didn't notify me about that in any way. Like, you know, maybe put it on my release radar, considering it's a song I've been blasting for the past 4 fucking months. And I'm so glad that I just happened to feel the need, and not only feel the need, but actually do it, because this EP fucking rocks. I fucking love it. She's one of my favorite artists now. Really looking forward to seeing what comes next. She refers to love as like those 3 words, and I quite like that, because it's like, is that what this feeling is? How can I be sure? Maybe that wasn't intentional, but that's what I get from it. But yeah, my favorite song, and also my most played song, is Blissful. The song I Don't Wanna is really, really good for a run, and like, there are times where one of the songs will come up on shuffle and I'm just like, fuck it, I'll listen to the whole EP again, because I just love it so much. This was number 1 until like a week or so ago, when I was like, is it? But yeah, fucking love this album. They're one of my favorite artists. Like, the album is honestly quite feminist as well. The song I Eat Boys, which was surprisingly my most played, and not Body Bag. My favorite song on the album is Girl on TV, but that was released in November of 2020, and the album itself came out May 7th, and so dumb part of my brain doesn't think of it as being part of the album. Other than Girl on TV, my favorite is most probably What If It Doesn't End Well, which I think is, I mean, it's a pretty obvious way to end the album, but it is a nice way to end the album. Oh, it made me so sad. Yeah, it's just nice to see her progress from being quirky little white girl, I'm strumming my ukulele in my bedroom, to this is like punk rock. Yeah, because like, even the title itself, Blood Bunny, shows how she's progressed from her first album. And overall, I think this album is supposed to show how she has grown since then. It's just great to play super, super loud and annoy your neighbors. It's one of those albums, you know? She also came out with a Dreams cover earlier in the year as well. You know, that is my favorite Fleetwood Mac song. I know, what an unpopular opinion. But anyway, speaking of Fleetwood Mac, let's get on to my favorite album of the year. The release of this album really solidified Clairo as one of my favorite artists, and she has been my favorite artist ever since it came out. Like, I cannot get enough of her. Similar to swimming lessons, I'm having to control myself by not playing all of her songs to death. She just suddenly dropped a single, Blouse. At first, I was disappointed because it sounded so different to her first album, Immunity, which I fucking love. But when you really get into the song, first of all, very sad, but also very nice. And the reason for that is because it's very clearly inspired by softcore 70s rock, you know, such as Fleetwood Mac. One of my, pretty much in 2018, I exclusively listened to Fleetwood Mac. And so hearing one of my favorite artists go into a new style and it be similar to that made me really excited for the album to come out. And it came out, I listened to it the moment the clock struck midnight, and it was fucking amazing. I cried listening to it for the first time. In part, what Sling is about, how she's kind of been beaten by the music industry and how she doesn't really want to be a part of it. And like, if this ends up being the last album she puts out, I'm more than okay with that, because Clairo is one of those artists that like you don't just listen to. Like, I care about her as a person, which is ridiculous. I genuinely just really care about her because I relate very heavily to her songs. Overall, it's not a very jammy album, which is why this was at number 2. It's just fucking incredible, and I just love how honest she is in this new album. It's just nice to see a fairly big artist being this real. I don't know, it's just hard to explain. I just love the sound of it. Jack Antonoff, who co-wrote some of the songs and produced it, I think he's just a genius, maybe. Great collaboration between the two, clearly. My favorite song on the album is Harbor. Every song on this album I adore. Yeah, I really don't know how to talk about this without just being like, I love it, and it's like, I can't explain why I love it that well. I just do. Never get me to review music again, I reckon, because I don't know how to without just saying, I love it, it sounds nice, I relate to lyric. Fucking love this album so much. Yeah, okay, that's it. There we go. Those are all my favorite things from 2021. Obviously some things are subject to change because, you know, there's some TV shows I haven't gotten around to watching, there's some films that haven't even been available in my region yet, there's some games that I've picked up but just haven't had the time to play yet, and also some albums that I haven't listened to fully yet as well. And usually this is the bit where I say what my most anticipated thing for 2022 is, but one of them has already come out, and it was Hippocampus's LP3, and it was fucking amazing. But other than that, Euphoria Season 2 is we're already 5 episodes into that. 2 other albums come out in February. Then Sonic 2 comes out in April. And then after that, I don't really have anything to look forward to in my life. So I don't really know what to do with my life. Maybe I'll just end it. Oh, shit.